11:59 p.m. on a Friday. Your direct deposit hits $2,214 after tax. You know the number before you check it because it has been the same number, adjusted by 3% each April for 4 years. The adjustment arrives in a letter. The letter says, "Annual merit increase." You say thank you. You mostly mean it. You are 27 years old. You have $400 left after rent, groceries, the car payment, the minimum on the card, and the streaming services you keep meaning to cancel. $400. Not a large number. Not nothing. This is where the video splits. Path A moves the $400 before the weekend begins, not to savings. To a brokerage account linked to a side project that has been running for 6 weeks and has earned exactly $0 so far, but costs $47 a month to keep alive. Path A moves the $400 because the 6 weeks of zero is not discouraging. It is information. It tells Path A what does not work yet. Path B spends the $400, not carelessly, deliberately. The dinner with the people from work on Saturday. The weekend away that has been planned for 2 months. The new jacket, because the old one is embarrassing, and you are 27 years old, and you earn money, and you are allowed to own a jacket that does not embarrass you. Path B is not wrong. Path B is optimizing for now. Now is a legitimate thing to optimize for. Both choices are rational. Both choices are human. They feel, in the moment of making them, almost exactly the same weight. They are not the same weight, but you cannot feel the difference in the moment of making them, which is why most people make the Path B choice, and why most people are not wrong to feel like they did nothing wrong. The cost of the Path A decision is visible immediately. The $400 is gone. The project is still making $0. The jacket remains embarrassing. The cost of the Path B decision is invisible for a very long time. And invisible costs do not feel like costs until they become impossible to dispute. The cost of staying comfortable is invisible until it is too late to dispute the bill. 2 years later, Path A's side project earns $914 in its best month. Not 900, 914. Path A knows the number because Path A checks it the way they used to check the direct deposit before it posts, because the number has become something worth anticipating. Every dollar of the 914 goes back in, not to lifestyle, back to the project, to the tool that costs $68 a month that makes the project faster, to the freelancer hired for a single task at $120, to the domain name renewed for $11 because it still costs $11, and it is still worth $11. The $914 is not spending money. It is infrastructure money. It is the project eating itself so it can grow. Path A still has the same apartment, the same car. The jacket that was embarrassing at 27 is still the jacket at 29 because the jacket budget went somewhere else. Path A's colleagues do not know about the project. Path A has learned that telling colleagues about the project before it works is a specific kind of vulnerability that produces no useful outcome. They will find out when it matters. It does not matter yet. Path B gets a promotion at 28. $11,000 more a year. The apartment improves. Not dramatically a better building. Closer to the office. In-unit laundry. Rational. The car is replaced at 29. The old one had 112,000 miles, and the repair estimate was $2,300, and a new lease was $347 a month, and the math felt obvious. Path B is not making bad decisions. Path B is making decisions that make sense inside a life that requires all of its income to run. Path B gets a second promotion at 31, $8,000 more. The lifestyle adjusts to absorb it within 6 weeks, not consciously. The subscriptions expand. The food budget drifts upward. The weekend trips become a rhythm rather than an event. Path B is not aware of the adjustment happening because adjustments of this type do not announce themselves. They simply become the new floor. At 33, the gap becomes a number. Path A, $74,300 in investment accounts and brokerage holdings. The project generates between $600 and $1,400 a month, depending on the season. Path A has not touched the direct deposit. It still goes in. It still pays the rent, the car, the minimum on the card. But the direct deposit is no longer the whole picture. Path B, $12,800 in a savings account and $460 in a 401k that was opened because the company match was free money, and free money is obviously correct. Path B earns $91,000 a year. It requires $91,000 a year. These two facts coexist without conflict inside a life that feels, from the outside and often from the inside, like it is going well, because it is going well. That is the part nobody talks about. Income that expands to meet lifestyle is not income. It is a ceiling with better lighting. You live under it the same way. Path A's biggest client leaves on a Wednesday. No warning. An email, professional, brief, thanking Path A for the work, explaining that the company is restructuring, that the contract will not be renewed. Path A reads the email 3 times. The client represented $4,600 a month, 61% of the project's revenue. It is gone. The email is 4 sentences long. The 4 sentences take 47 seconds to read and approximately 6 weeks to stop thinking about. Path A does not tell anyone at the office, not because it is shameful, because the office is not the right container for this information. The people at the office would understand it as a cautionary tale about side projects. It is not a cautionary tale. It is a Tuesday problem inside a Tuesday business, and Path A will solve it the way Tuesday problems get solved, by working until they are not problems anymore. 7 months. That is how long it takes to rebuild. Not to the same number, to a better number. The $4,600 is replaced by 3 smaller clients, totaling $5,219 a month. The concentration risk is gone. The lesson cost 7 months and left Path A with a more resilient structure than existed before the loss. This is not a silver lining framing. This is what happened. The crisis produced a better business at the cost of 7 months of fear and tight cash flow and checking the bank account in the way you check something you are afraid of. During those 7 months, Path B had no crisis. The direct deposit hit at $11.59 every Friday, $2,214, adjusted by 3% each April. Dependable, the way weather in a controlled environment is dependable. No email on a Wednesday. No tight cash flow. No fear. No reason to check the account with that particular kind of vigilance that Path A knows well and Path B has never needed to develop. This is the part nobody says out loud. Stability is real. It is not an illusion. A salary that arrives on time, that covers the bills, that allows a person to stop thinking about money for most of a given week. This is a genuine thing of value. Path B is not confused about this. Path B has correctly identified something that matters and has not sacrificed it. That is not a failure of imagination. That is a choice. The thing that stability cannot do is prepare you for the moment it stops. Layoffs, restructuring, illness, an industry that changes faster than your role inside it can adapt. The salary is not guaranteed by anyone. It is a payment made voluntarily by an employer who retains the right to stop making it. Most people know this in the abstract. Most people have not had to know it concretely. The difference between knowing it in the abstract and knowing it concretely is usually one Wednesday email. Path A has had that email. Path A is not grateful for it. But Path A is not afraid of it in the same way anymore. The fear has a shape now. Shaped fears are easier to plan around than shapeless ones. Stability is not safety. It is a salary paid voluntarily by someone who retains the right to stop paying it. Most people learn the difference between those 2 sentences on a Wednesday. 7 years after the fork. Path A's business generates $8,214 a month on average. Some months are $11,000. Some months are $5,800. The average is $8,214, and Path A has learned to budget against the $5,800 because the $11,000 months are a pleasant surprise, and the $5,800 months are the actual structure of the business, and planning against surprises is not planning. Path A still has the direct deposit, $2,214, adjusted by 3% each April, arriving at $11.59 on Friday. It is no longer the whole picture. It is no longer even most of the picture. It is the floor. The floor matters. Path A does not take the floor for granted because the 7 months taught Path A what a floor looks like when it is not there. At 40, Path A's net worth is $341,000. Investment accounts, brokerage holdings, cash reserves. The business is separate. It is not on the balance sheet the way an asset is, because a business that requires Path A to run it is not an asset in the traditional sense. It is a system that converts Path A's time and skill into recurring revenue. The system earns. Path A runs the system. The relationship is not passive. But it is also not dependent on one employer's willingness to continue making payments. Path A does not talk about this at work. Some of Path A's colleagues know about the business now. Some of them are curious. Some of them are quietly calculating what 7 years of redirecting $400 a month would have produced for them. Path A does not make this calculation out loud. It is not a useful conversation to have with people who are still inside the choice. Path B earns $94,000 a year at 40. This is a significant salary. This is a salary that most people in most countries will never earn. It is sufficient. It is more than sufficient. Path B has a retirement account with $61,200 in it, growing at a rate that reflects consistent contributions and reasonable market returns. Path B owns a car that does not have 112,000 miles on it. Path B took a vacation last year that was not a weekend trip. These are real things. They are worth having. Path B also requires the $94,000 to continue arriving, not as a psychological dependency, as a mathematical one. The mortgage is $1,980 a month. The car payment is $368. The subscriptions, the groceries, the utilities, the minimum on the card that is carrying $4,900 since the furnace was replaced last winter. All of it requires the $94,000 to keep being there. If the $94,000 stops for any reason, for any duration, the structure requires attention within approximately 43 days. Path B knows this. Path B thinks about it on Sunday nights, occasionally, briefly, in the specific way that adults think about things they cannot change without also changing everything else. Path B does not lie awake about it. It is a background awareness, a low hum, something that has always been there and has become easy to not hear. Path A hears the silence where that hum used to be. That silence also cost something. It cost $400 a month for years and 7 months of fear and a jacket that was embarrassing until it wasn't, and the specific loneliness of building something that nobody around you can see yet. It cost all of that, and it produced something that does not require another person's ongoing decision to keep existing. Neither path is the wrong path. They are different bets, made under different assumptions about what a life should be organized around. Path A, bet on the machine it was building. Path B, bet on the machine it was inside. At 40, both bets are visible in their entirety for the first time. The salary is not the destination. It is the cost of not having built something else. Most people never calculate that cost because the salary arrives on time, and on-time things are easy to not think about. 11:59 p.m. on a Friday. Somewhere, the direct deposit is hitting $2,214 after tax. Someone is checking the number before it posts because they have checked it so many times at this exact time that the checking has become the ritual rather than the number. Someone else is not checking it. Not because they don't have a direct deposit, because the direct deposit stopped being the primary thing worth checking several years ago and the habit reorganized itself around something else. Both of them earned this Friday. Both of them worked the week that produced it. Both of them have a number coming in at 11:59 that reflects choices made years earlier on a different Friday, when the number was the same and the $400 left over could have gone anywhere. The machine does not know which path you are on. The machine opens at 11:59 every Friday regardless. It does not know if you need it. It does not know if you have built something that means you no longer need it, or if you are still building, or if you are 27 years old and the choice is still ahead of you and the number in the notification looks the same from every direction. 13 years is a long time to track two decisions made from the same starting point. The gap at the end is not the point. The gap was always going to be a number. Numbers do not make decisions. They just make the decisions visible in a way that is difficult to look away from once you have seen them. The point is, the Friday night, at 27, the $400, the choice that did not feel like a choice, because choices of this size rarely feel like their size when you are making them. They feel like a Friday night. They feel like a jacket. They feel like a dinner. They feel like a project that has been running for 6 weeks and earned exactly $0 and costs $47 a month to keep alive. The machine opens every Friday. It will open next Friday. It will open the Friday after that. The only question it never asks, the only question it is not designed to ask, is whether you still need it to.